everyone. Welcome back to another episode of our Lunch and Learn series. My name is Lauren, and I'm an Enterprise Customer Success Manager with Jotform. I'm so excited for our session today, in which I'll be detailing a crucial feature of our platform. And this is crucial to so many of our customers from all different lines of business. This feature is one of Jotform's signature features that I would even endorse as one of our most helpful when thinking about automating and digitizing processes. If you haven't guessed already or seen the slide up on the screen, today we'll be chatting about all things e-signatures and comparing the different options available in your server to collect signatures from both your form respondents and your internal users as well. I'll even be sharing different real-life use cases inspired by our very own Jotform Enterprise users who collect electronic signatures via their online forms every single day. As per usual, we'll be covering a lot in today's session, but don't worry, it will be recorded and posted right to our YouTube channel later on. But if you're joining us live today, we've also reserved some time towards the end of our presentation for questions. And just one last thing before we get fully started. I wanted to let you know that the enterprise server we're working in today is not HIPAA enabled. While e-signature functionality is available for our HIPAA-enabled servers, there are additional considerations required under HIPAA compliance. So if you do have any specific questions regarding HIPAA, please contact our support team for further assistance. And now, without further ado, let's jump right in. Signatures in general are not a new concept by any means. Did you know that the first known signatures were created by the ancient Egyptians? Well, we've certainly come a long way since then, moving from cave walls and papyrus to paper, and now we're in the digital age, so it's only fitting that our ways of collecting signatures follow suit. Whether the form is being filled out on a desktop computer, tablet, or mobile phone, your respondents will be able to certify their responses with a signature in a variety of ways using tools from right inside your Jotform Enterprise server. Though we, here at Jotform Enterprise, are providing the tools, it's up to you as the form builder to decide how to put this plan into action. And that's why I'm here, to help make that decision a little easier and clearer. Maybe you're collecting signatures on a document like a waiver, release, contract agreement, maybe. If that is the case, Jotform Sign will be right up your alley. If you're collecting signatures on a more detailed form, maybe one that requires a bit more complex data entry from the respondent, then a standard form will be your very best friend, made complete with our signature element. Just in case I don't have your attention already, then I'll let you in on a little secret. I'll also be reviewing an alternate option to our classic signature element to give you even more options to collect that all-important autograph. If your form has a review process after submission requiring signatures from approvers, then I will be so honored and excited to chat about our approve and sign element. All in all, as with most of Jotform Enterprise, our options are flexible and abundant. If part of your process involves collecting signatures, then you'll definitely want to stay tuned to ensure that you're using these tools to their fullest potential. You may even find that after this, there was actually an easier way to collect the information you desire. Whether you're looking to modify your current signature process or are hoping to establish a signature collection process brand new and are curious about what options you have, I'm confident you'll learn something new today. So who's ready to officially get started? I know I am, so we can dive right in. If you're a seasoned form builder, then you're probably already familiar with this screen. Once we click Create Form from our My Workspace home screen, we're given a series of options to choose on how we'd like to establish our form. When reaching this screen, we likely already have an idea in mind of what we want to build. Based on that information, we obviously want to choose the option that's going to work best for our process. Let's chat a bit more about these options to ensure that you are choosing the very best form type for your needs. First, we have our standard forms. They're perfect for collecting all kinds of information, whether that's starting from scratch, using a template from the template library, importing a PDF document into our Smart PDF tool. You'll have a wide range of flexibility when it comes to the information you're gathering from your respondents. The elements list, located over here on the left-hand side, allows for the collection of data through several different input types. With such a variety of options, the possibilities feel endless. Plus, on top of all of that, you can also grab a signature. In addition to just the questions being asked on the form itself, the standard form allows for the inclusion of customized email notifications, conditional logic, pre-filling fields before the respondent receives it, integrating with third-party software, and post-submission workflows, just to name a few. Before we dive into our real-world example here, we'll take a look at our other signature collection option, building a Jotform Sign document. A Jotform Sign document is another awesome option to collect signatures. When this is selected, it will prompt you as the form builder to upload a PDF to use as your form. I've already done so for our example today, which we can see up here on the screen. Unlike the standard form builder, the Jotform Sign builder is a bit more limited with the elements you can add to your form to collect information from your respondents. In our Elements menu, we have a few basic options that can be mapped directly onto the uploaded document. Another piece of the Jotform Sign builder that makes it so unique is that when the respondent receives this form, they're actually going to be signing, initialing, filling out all of this information directly onto the uploaded document. This allows form builders to really hone in on the layout, style, and everything else as far as signature collecting, rather than only using the options available in the form builder. These are just the baseline differences between the two, though. There are several unique differences between the two, but I think this would be best explained using a new hire process example. As a part of my organization's onboarding process, I know I'll need a good amount of information from my new hire, including but not limited to their hours available, their shirt size, emergency contact information. And on top of all of that, the requirement for compliance in my organization will need to have their signature on file as well. Based on the information I'm collecting, I do have some decisions to make. I know I need to collect a signature, so either the Jotform Sign Builder or standard forms will be helpful for that. Though, as I previously mentioned, the signature is not the only thing I'll be collecting, so I really need to consider the other data provided by my respondent. Due to the complexity of the information filled, I'm not sure that the Jotform Sign element list will allow for the complete collection of all this data. However, and thankfully, the standard form builder will come in to save the day. Let's take a look at that built-out new hire form now. Using a variety of my standard forms elements and widgets, I was able to create the perfect new hire form tied together with the signature element at the very bottom. This will ensure that this information is collected in the most efficient manner possible and that I'm adhering to my organization's compliance requirements with the inclusion of this e-signature. However, the new hire process does not end there. In addition to this information collected, I know that I also have an employee handbook for the new hire to review and sign off that they acknowledge the information and will follow all rules and regulations of our organization. I already have a PDF put together of my handbook that I had previously been using in a hard copy paper format. Because I'm not collecting any additional information other than the signature, Jotform Sign will be the best tool for my needs. As we can see here, I've already gone ahead and uploaded my multi-page handbook to the Jotform Sign tool. At the very end of all of the pages, I have my signature, printed name, and date field. Because this document is pretty information heavy, meaning information I'm providing to the respondent to review versus the respondent providing me the information, Jotform Sign makes it easier than ever to provide this document to my new hires and collect their signature right here on the bottom. They will be able to read through our different policies exactly as they were written originally, formatted as they were when this was provided as a hard copy paper document. And in case you haven't used Jotform Sign before, you can configure the notification to actually receive a copy of the original document with the signature on it. The questions asked, overall content of the form is just one of the many things to consider when deciding how you'd like to actually collect the e-signatures on the form. Let's take a look at a quick overview of some others. Here I've broken down the main features of both standard forms and signed documents. As we can see in the standard form column, we have the ability to collect information in a variety of different elements, which we just saw live in action with our new hire information form. But moving down the list, we also have some other key features that may help sway our decision. First, we have our form settings. These include helpful components of form process, such as the general form settings, with the ability to conditionally disable the form based on total submissions, the ability for a form to be easily translated into several languages, the ability for a form to be saved as a draft by the respondent, and the ability to check for unique submissions to avoid duplicates. P.S. If any of those are intriguing to you, you should absolutely check out the last Lunch and Learn on form settings. The next one is emails. So in a standard form, you can customize the look, feel, and content of the email. You can opt to include uploaded files, and even in some cases, actually schedule the email to send at a later time versus immediately upon submission of the form. The next is conditional logic, which means that the form can dynamically function based on the way it's being filled out. We can show or hide certain fields, hide certain pages of the form based on previous answers, and even require responses in certain fields under specific circumstances. And finally, workflows. We can determine what happens after the form is submitted using workflow functionality to route the submission to different individuals for approvals and review. Following that, we have some unique abilities for sharing a standard form, such as the ability to generate a QR code for ease of access of the form via a mobile device. We can embed the standard form in several ways, including having the full source code if anyone is feeling ambitious. And we have the ability to pre-fill information on the form manually from an existing form, from a single sign-on provider, or from a third-party CRM. Now, all of this is super great, and that's not to say Jotform Sign doesn't have its own unique capabilities. Going through this list, we took a look at that example of an employee handbook needing to be reviewed and signed, but that's likely not the only document needing to be acknowledged by my new hire. When creating a Jotform Sign document, you have the ability to upload several documents from your device, collecting signatures and information on each of them in one fell swoop. Super convenient for both you and those new hires. Additionally, Jotform Sign has the ability to assign individual roles to fields on the form, which means that in some cases, there may be more than one person that needs to sign off on a document. Jotform Sign allows the ability to assign multiple people to different roles and subsequently different fields on the document for a more collaborative final result. Apart from that, the inbox for a signed document will include more comprehensive information, such as when an assigned signer, try saying that 5 times fast, which I can't even say apparently, when they have viewed the document but not yet completed it with a signature. And finally, once the document is completed, an audit trail is attached to the document to detail out each signer, the date and time they viewed, and ultimately signed the form, and the associated IP address for each of the signers. Now that we have those differences down, Let's take a look or think about, some other real world examples. For example, if I have a form that is a video recording or media release form, because I'm just really collecting a signature on that, I'd probably prefer a Jotform Sign document. If I have an inspection form, maybe for leasing an apartment, the lease itself may make more sense in Jotform Sign, but utilizing something like the take photo widget or file upload fields on a standard form will work perfectly for an inspection where photographic evidence is needed. If I'm scouting volunteers, I can build the application in a standard form, but I may need to also have them sign an agreement. I could use a standard form for one and Jotform Sign for the other. And finally, if I have a field trip permission slip to be filled out by the parent on behalf of their child, Jotform Sign can definitely work. But if we're also having the parent sign up for chaperoning or providing snacks, a standard form might make a bit more sense in that case. With some of those examples, you may have noticed I suggested using both. Well, did you know that you could absolutely do that and you can automate it? Let's use the volunteer example I just named to take a look at the automated process of assigning a signed document through a workflow. As I previously mentioned, workflows can only be triggered via the submission of a standard form. In this case, my volunteer application. However, Jotform Sign documents can be automatically sent as a part of a workflow after that initial form submission. In this example, I have the volunteer application kicking the whole flow off. Once the volunteer fills in all of their information, which will include their name and email address, it is then sent to our volunteer coordinator for their review. If they decide the volunteer is a good fit based on their application, they can select to approve the volunteer. And then once that has taken place, a signed document is automatically sent to the volunteer based on the information in their original application form. As you may know, if you've watched our Lunch and Learns on workflows, the inbox is a great resource for all things workflow. So we can actually head over there now to the inbox of this volunteer application to easily check the status of the volunteer approval, the completed application, and the signature on the agreement form. As we can see, Mickey Mouse, our humble volunteer, has already signed his agreement form as denoted by the green sign label underneath his name. But what's going on with Minnie? If I click into the submission, scroll to the bottom, it looks like it was approved by our volunteer coordinator and the agreement was sent, but we don't seem to have a signature yet. Lucky for us, we can click right here on this View Sign inbox to find out more. Here, I can see the document that Minnie received for her signature. However, it hasn't yet been signed. Over here on the right-hand side, I can see the document information, and it looks like Minnie did view the document, but hasn't yet signed it. I could reach out to Minnie directly by clicking this Send Reminder email button to ensure that we receive this document signed and returned in an acceptable time frame. Now, in case you haven't yet seen a completed Jotform Sign document, let's take a look at our star volunteer, Mickey, to give you an idea of what all is included with the completion of a signed document. First, we have the document itself, complete with the signature at the bottom. And then below that, we have a separate page of the audit trail information so we can track exactly when it was signed with timestamps and IP addresses associated with each action. This is especially helpful to have in our files for any potential audits or information requests we may run into. Now, finally, if you've ever used Jotform Sign before, you may be wondering, wait, why didn't Lauren mention the main difference that I've noticed? Jotform sign documents allow for the typing, which we see here, or the mouse/finger signing in the signature field. Well, I do have some good news for you. And if you've never used Jotform Sign before, then hey, at least you're learning something new today. Did you know that there is an element available in our standard forms that will allow the collection of signatures either by mouse/finger or typing? Let's go over to a form so we can see exactly what I mean. On a standard form, you may be familiar with our signature element. This input box on a form allows for the input of a signature by finger or mouse only. However, if you wanted your form filler to be able to type their name in instead, we can actually creatively utilize another one of our form elements to accomplish this. The fill in the blank element will allow the form builder to control how questions or passages with fillable fields throughout are displayed on the form. The fill in the blank element contains a wide variety of form elements that can be incorporated into a single prompt on the form. And one of those elements is a signature field. The signature field inside the fill in the blank element will allow for the respondent to either sign by drawing the signature or by just typing it in. This provides flexible options for your signer to certify their information with just the swipe of a mouse, finger, or click of a few keys. And in case you don't believe me, here are both of those fields on our live form. Clicking into the signature element first, we can see that we are only able to draw our signature. But down here, this line, as a part of that fill in the blank element we just added, clicking to add the signature will provide us with a choice of how we'd like to add the signature to the form, either by drawing or we could type the name out. See, I told you. Despite the information I've given you so far, you may find yourself at a crossroads of choosing between a standard form or a signed document. If this is the case, there's actually kind of a middle road that may work for your needs. Maybe you need to collect a variety of information, which would call for a standard form, but your organization compliance calls for the addition of the audit trail for the signer, which would call for a signed document. Let's look at the Jotform Sign automation setting, which will apply some Jotform Sign settings to a standard form. Located in the settings menu of our standard form builder, we have the ability to turn on the Jotform Sign automation. This will allow for the collection of information in the standard form format, but will also provide a finalized result with the inclusion of an audit trail. This setting can help fill in our gray area in which we need dynamic information collected, but require the additional compliance and data of Jotform Sign. Using a spin on one of our previously provided examples of an apartment lease, let's take a look at this automation in action on a campground release form. When completing my lease agreement for my campsite, I have gone ahead and added the signature and I'm ready to submit. When I click submit here, I'm asked to agree to the consumer consent disclosure as if I was signing a Jotform Sign document. And then up here, we have a preview of the completed PDF, ready, to make sure all of my responses are correct and my signature is included. Once I agree to that, my campsite lease has been submitted. But what about that audit trail? I am so glad you asked. If I pop over to this form's inbox, I am able to access and download my completed standard form as a submission PDF with the audit trail attached. As if I didn't overload your brains enough today, we do have one more option for collecting signatures, a bit different from the ones I've gone over today, but still an option for you while working in your Jotform Enterprise server. And this is collecting a signature as part of an approval step. So let's take a look at that. Regardless of what is actually being collected in the form itself, signature-wise, there may be a need for an internal review and signature after a form has already been submitted. We can utilize the approve and sign element to accomplish exactly this. The approve and sign element, similar to the standard approval element, will allow an individual to review a submission, make a decision on the submission from the provided outcomes, in this case, approve or deny, and then also provide a signature certifying their decision. Once signed by the approver, the signature is visible in a few places: the form inbox, the submission PDF with the inclusion of the flow status element, and the flow report, which, if you are not familiar, is actually an audit of all of the actions that took place during a single submission's approval. This internal signature does not appear on the form itself, but can still be tracked in all of the locations I previously listed. And here's what each of those options look like. Here we have the form inbox with the approval signature. And then we have the submission PDF with that flow status and activity element with the signature right there. And finally, we have that flow report. This, along with other signature options presented in the standard form, the Jotform Sign document, and the standard form with the Jotform Sign automation turned on, will be super helpful in providing various ways to collect signatures for the forms in your organization. Wow, is anyone else ready to sign out? Okay, no more puns, probably. But seriously, did you even know that there were that many unique options to capture a signature in Jotform Enterprise? Today, we explored each of those options and even spent some time comparing the possibilities. We looked at reasons you may choose to collect signatures on a standard form. From there, we also discussed Jotform Sign and its own unique capabilities. And then we put it all together, touching on that unique ability of the Jotform Sign automation to collect dynamic data while also still providing us with the audit trail for our records. Finally, we finished off talking about collecting internal signatures via the approve and sign step in a workflow. My hope is that you can take the information shared today to make the best decisions for yourself, your team, and your organization when form building, where the collection of signatures is included in the process. Hey, maybe you even came up with some ideas to modify your existing forms or documents, or maybe you now have some ideas on how to create new forms to replace current pen and paper processes. Whatever the case may be, I do encourage you to log into the system and think of ways that you can optimize your collection of signatures via your Jotform Enterprise forms and documents. And if you have any questions along the way, we're here to help. Which, speaking of questions, if you have any questions specific to the signature options I discussed today, please feel free to type them into the chat or Q&A if you have not already. It looks like there is a question on reporting from Jotform Sign. Depending on what you're reporting on, it could be possible. Standard forms will have the ability to add reports directly from the table. So you will be able to pull information based on that. But if you were just looking to kind of see, what is in progress, where the submissions stand for signatures, you can utilize the inbox for that information for signed documents. And it looks like there's a question about the fill in the blank field being keyboard accessible, because currently you must use the mouse to switch between type and draw. If that something is not available currently in the system, we definitely recommend for you to submit a feature request. We're always looking for feedback on our tools from the people that use these every single day. So I definitely recommend submitting a feature request if you haven't already. Those will be escalated up to our engineers for their consideration for implementation in future system updates. So I definitely, recommend sharing that information with them so that they are able to see that that's an important feature. And it looks like there is a question about the consumer consent disclosure. I saw it mentioned with Jotform Sign and the Jotform Sign automation. I'm not sure if we need it. Well, first and foremost, in situations of organization compliance, it really is best to check with your own internal team. We simply just show the tools and allow you to make the decision based on that. But the consent disclosure is an agreement page that the signer is agreeing to have their signature collected electronically in lieu of using handwritten or non-digital signatures. And then the next question is, are signature elements available on a tablet or phone? Yes. So these are available on desktop, tablet, or mobile phone. And then it looks like there's one final question. Once a document has been sent to a signer, can you cancel it? For example, someone withdrew their employment acceptance, and we do need to track that in our records. So in the sign inbox, you can cancel an in-progress document at any time. There's a button in the top right-hand corner where you're able to do that. So it will show as labeled as canceled. So you can have that for your records. And then marketing, are there any additional questions from our YouTube viewers today?
Yes, we have one question. Is there a way to add attachments on signed documents and send over along to the next signer?
So there's not a way to upload files on a signed document. For that, it may be in your best interest to use a standard form.
Perfect. That's all.
Awesome. Then it looks like that is all the questions for today. So I just want to say thanks again for being here with me today. In our next session together on May 7th, we'll be going back to the basics for one final time this season and chatting about the Form Builder's Publish tab. This session will be discussing all of your options to share your form with your respondents in easy and efficient ways. It'll be another super informative one, so I do hope to see you there. If you have any questions that we didn't get to today, please reach out to our enterprise sales team or to our awesome customer support team if you are already an enterprise user. You can find more lunch and learns, webinars, walkthroughs, and quick video guides on our YouTube channel and our website. We also have some great lunch and learn sessions coming up that will build upon each other. So please ensure that you're registered for these sessions at jotform.com/enterprise/lunch and learn sessions.